So, hello, good afternoon, and welcome again to another episode of the Sustainability Squad. This afternoon, we are going to be discussing the role of civil society organizations, CSOs, in achieving sustainable development in Nigeria. I have with me today my co-host, Vere Onwe. By now, you all know her. And then we are also joined by a special guest, Juliette Nwobodo. And we're also looking forward to have Dr. Okezie join us as well in this episode. But just to start, I'll just go ahead to share a little bit of information on who Juliette is and why she's here with us today. So just permit me to look at my notepad. So Juliet is a seasoned communication professional dedicated to advancing women and girls' right to quality education and empowering them to lead lives of dignity. Juliet is particularly interested in crafting dynamic communication strategies that amplify impactful education, women's rights, climate justice, and youth development projects. Most importantly, as an impact storyteller, Juliet uses storytelling as an advocacy tool to mobilize stakeholders into action. Her expertise spans digital storytelling, development communication, policy advocacy, and project management, with her work extending across critical sectors such as education, healthcare, climate, and women empowerment. She has led numerous digital campaign activities, such as the Nazari Maizufi podcast, aimed at ending child marriage in northern Nigeria. She has also hosted both online and offline webinars, workshops, and programs, and have led the development of two impact documentaries on education and a short film on period poverty. Juliet is the communication lead at Bridge Connect Africa Initiative, a nonprofit organization focused on creating innovative solutions with communities, women, and young people towards an equitable, just, and sustainable future. She also served as a One champion for the One campaign in Nigeria from 2022 to 2024. And beyond her professional roles, Juliet is the founder of the Learning Space, a social enterprise helping young people position themselves for success by crafting impactful programs and resources for youth development. I was just telling Juliet before she came on board, like I went to her um, professional summary and I'm just like, how are you so young with so much already,
Walai,
in the bag. It's so lovely to have you with
Lord,
us today, Juliet.
Lord.
Thank you so much. Sometimes when I read in my mind, like I know I'm the one that wrote it, but I'm still like, am I the person that you are referring to? But yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me. Thank you, Berry. Thank you, Paradise. I had to actually go through the YouTube series that you guys have done. I must say, very impressive. I know that it's not easy putting stuff together, reaching out to people, identifying people, and still showing up. So kudos for you guys.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you. That was kind. Ebere.
Yeah. So again, well done, really well done. It's not easy in this sector. I'm really proud. I mean, it goes to show you the power of positioning, right? Let's not go into that, but I know that you're able to do these things because you had the right knowledge early. I keep talking about getting to know something is early, and doing some things. It just makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. So well
Thank
done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to. I think the first thing I want to talk about. I don't want to. I wanted to ask you what you understand by sustainable development. Your understanding, but I think we already did justice to that in the previous episode. Yeah, so maybe
The
you could
last
just
three
touch a little bit on it.
episodes,
Yeah, maybe you could touch a little bit on it. Let's get your own input, your own perspective of what sustainable development means to you as a
as a
person.
Nigerian.
And then, yeah, as a Nigerian, very important. And then I also I want, like, because I was listening to some of the projects you worked on, I wanted to understand because one thing we try to talk about here a lot is community development being community driven, community focused. Yeah, and we've come to realize that, and I'm sure you've also observed it, that when you work with community on certain issues, especially issues that relate to culture, that is embedded in culture and tradition, sometimes it can be difficult. It can be difficult sometimes to get people to cooperate, to accept the change you're trying to bring. So how do you go about grassroots awareness? Because I see that you do a lot of projects on publicity, documentaries, getting people to see what is happening here. So what do you do about the community themselves, even accepting that this thing that is happening here, it's not right, it shouldn't be. So sometimes they don't even know this thing shouldn't be. So how do you get to execute mindset shift, awareness, grassroots awareness among the communities and get them to be able to work with you to carry out the change that you intend to implement?
Okay. Thank you so much, Ibrahim. This is a lot of questions. So I'm going to take it one after the other. And I think that the first question you talked about, what does sustainable development mean? For me, I would say sustainable development should be able to answer at least these three questions. Number one, does it address a need? Because say for instance, we are in Nigeria and we are so excited to bring it here. Is it a need here? So first of all, does it address a need? That is one thing about sustainable development. Whatever developments that you are bringing, whatever project, whatever program, whatever impact, does it address a need for the people who it is meant for, right? Then number two, does it have systems and structures? Because I know a lot of us want to make impact, want to do something for our community, but does it have, for it to be, it's all beautiful. Like I know there are a lot of beautiful ideas out there, a lot of people are executing, but for it to be called sustainable, does it have a system and structure that would help us achieve that goal? And that's why when you see the sustainable development goals, each of the 16 sustainable development goal has a target and it has a system, right? So for instance, we are saying, oh, we want to achieve quality and equitable inclusive education by 2030. What are the systems that have been put in place for this? The UN has already put a system that would help us achieve this goal by 2030, which includes, okay, finding funding, resources, and then channeling these resources to people that need it most. They are ensuring that data are being collected every year. They're ensuring that there is a review system every year to ensure that, okay, are we meeting this target? Are we close to meeting it? So for any development to be sustainable, it has to have a clear goal and a clear system and structure that would help in achieving those goals. And that brings me to the third point. It should not be dependent on a person. It's also tied to the second point. It should not be dependent on a person, but rather be dependent on a system. Because people can go, right? People can lose interest. A person, for me, I might say, oh, I'm interested in education. And in the next 2 years, my target, my goal, my purpose, it might change. My interest, might change. My interest may no longer be on education, but on health. Now, imagine if meeting the education goal is dependent on me as a person. If my interests change, that means we may no longer achieve that goal and it may no longer become sustainable. So it has to be independent of it. It doesn't have to be dependent on a person, but rather dependent on a system, on a working system and a working structure. Yeah, so that's what sustainable development should be centered around, right? If it's sustainable, it has to be, and it also has to be able to be replicated. So if we take it to Nigeria, it can be replicated based on we see the culture is different in Nigeria compared to other countries. But if we bring this thing here and it is going to solve a need in Nigeria, then it should be able to be replicated, right? If there is a culture, it should be able to adapt to those culture, to those systems, and still be replicable. I don't know if that English makes sense.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you take it to China, it should be replicated. Oh, this is China, this is their culture, this is the way of the way of they do their things. But if we're bringing this sustainable development on education to China, is it replicable? Putting the context of the people and the culture of the people in mind. So this is what sustainable development should be all about. And then bringing it down to grassroots mobilization, grassroots development. We are talking about communities, right? And if we have to define communities, there are a group of people that has the same value and, are in the same setting. They can be referred to as community. And meaning if people have the same value, you don't impose on them. You cannot bring something outside and then you want to impose it on them. There will be a contrast and a conflicting interest. So if we say, oh, child marriage is bad, you should not do it. And then we take it to a community where they have seen child marriage as normal. I mean, some people might give you a justification that if you marry a girl early, it helps her, all of those, it helps her not to be promiscuous. Some people might give you the idea that, oh, girls' development. We were speaking to somebody today, and he was saying something in the line that girls have their maturity, different girls mature at different levels. So somebody at the age of 13 may be more mature than somebody at the age of 18. I mean, based on what they know, their level of knowledge, it is a very justifiable reason, right? But you have to now give them the health aspect. Well, this is why we think child marriage is bad, because health-wise, it is not benefiting and it has more disadvantage and advantage. Like everything that has a disadvantage has an advantage. You may not be seeing the advantage, but they are seeing it. So you don't have to, you will not, if you are mobilizing a community or you want to change a community mindset, you don't impose on them. You work with them, right? If you don't work with them, they see you as somebody who wants to destroy an age-long culture and age-long tradition. They will not trust you. So for a mindset shift, you work with communities and you don't impose on them. And working with them means there is something that when we were working on the child protection bill, that's the Child Rights Act, right? When I came in and I learned about it, I saw they were advocating about it, and I went to read about it, and I couldn't see, like, if you type child protection bill on Google, you'll be seeing it in states like maybe northern states like Kano, but then it is actually Child Rights Act. At the national level, it is referred to as child, and that is what is called domestication. A Child Rights Act have been developed, and then it has been approved at the national level as Child Rights Act. If we're bringing it to Kano, we also have to understand the context, the culture, the tradition of the people living in Kano, and they have to domesticate it. It has to be their own. And that's why if you are mobilizing community for a sustainable project, they have to own it. If people don't own something, it can't be sustainable. So they have to own it. And for them to own it, it has to fit. It's just like when you are doing a puzzle. If you are arranging a puzzle and you are putting a wrong puzzle at a wrong place, it will not fit. So it has to fit in. They have to be able to adapt to it. And for them to do that, you have to come with the mindset of, I am not against what you are doing. I am just here to work with you to make it better for the lives of the people that we are working with. So you have to put community, you have to have them in mind. You are working with them. You are working with them and you're not working for them. You're not working for them. You're not working against them. You just have to have this mindset that you are working with them. It is a collaborative effort, because at the end of the day, it is their community. It is their thing. You are a stranger, no matter how you see it. You would leave, and they will have to live with the consequences of their action, with the result or the impact of the work that you are bringing to them. So you have to help them own it. And for them to own it, they have to understand the benefits. I mean, you also have to understand that you are not against them, but you are working with them to achieve a goal. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah. You did. Ebere, do you have anything at the moment?
Yeah, that was really brilliant. That was really brilliant. Let me allow you, Paradise. I know you have a lot of things to say.
No, not a lot, but I just have one because that was really nice and
Yeah.
very brilliant, like Ebere said. But when you talked about the project being able to be replicated across countries or communities, it also kind of rang a bell in my head about one cap fits all kind of solution, which I
So,
think is
but she mentioned context. She said you need to take into consideration the
Ownership.
context,
okay, the
culture
context,
of
yeah,
the
okay,
people.
that has answered the question because I was like, okay.
Yeah, I also felt like that until I heard her say context.
Context,
Yeah.
yeah. That's good. Thank you. And all right, like that being said, with all we do NGOs, like I think these words, it's just been like we've been using this interchangeably, NGOs, IPOs, CSOs, and so but our focus today is on civil society organizations. And I want to know, in your own understanding, what exactly is a civil society organization?
That's sounding like an exam question. So, so I think that in my own understanding, I think it basically just defines himself. Civil society organization
Hmm.
is for the society. It's just a group. I don't think that it's a group of um people that come together for the good of a society or for the good of a community. And they don't work for the government, because if you say you work for the government, you have an agenda. All governments have an agenda. But the agenda for civil society organization is for the people.
The people.
It's for basically it's for the people. What makes life better for the people, right? How do we work with the systems? How do we work with the structures to ensure that life is better for the people? Yeah.
Which are they the same as NGOs or community groups, or are they different? Like, because we use this interchangeably. CSOs, are they same as NGOs, or you know, I don't know.
Please come again.
Do you think that CSOs are the same with NGOs, or are they different?
Okay, so it depends again, like I would say, most times, like you said, it's always like used interchangeably. But then the thing about CSO is that CSO, I would say, is the umbrella body that
Okay.
houses all of these NGOs, CBOs, professionals. CSO is like a general term used to describe all of this used to describe like people who represent the people. Like I said, CSOs are organization of people that operate for the interest of the people, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we're talking about NGOs, community-based organization, that's CBOs, faith-based organization, that's faith-based organization, FBO. All of these people are also working for the interest of the people, but then in the context of their own work. But they are all can be classified as CSOs. Does it make any sense?
Yeah, that it
So
does.
if we're talking about maybe youth group, women groups, NGOs, there is also non-profit organization, then there is non-governmental organization, which are always also used like interchangeably, right?
Yeah.
Non-profits, like non-profits works are organizations that work without profits for the impact of people. They are off, they work, they don't, they are non-governments, means that they are independent of the government and they work for the interest of the people. Now,
Mm.
community-based organization majorly works with communities, right? Majorly works with community. Now, faith-based organization are organizations that work with people, religious people, say Christians. They are faith-based organizations, Muslim association, Christian associations, all those ones can also be classified under the faith-based organization. At the end of the day, all these people make up the umbrella term CSOs.
All
Does
right.
it make
Yes, it does. I think that answers my question and kind of creates a level of clarity as we go into the conversation, because people may be people watching may be wondering, CSO, NGO, what's the difference? Who is who and what is what? So thank you so much for clarifying that. And in your opinion, do you think that CSOs in Nigeria are independent of the government?
Hmm. So? I might not give you like a tentative answer to that because there are a lot of CSOs in Nigeria. A lot. And every organization has their goal. And I know maybe when you go to their website, some people will tell you non-partisan. But the thing that we also like to what I want people to take note of is that CSOs work with the government, but not for the government. There is a clear difference. Because if you work for the government, then you are partisan, then everything you are doing is dependent on everything you are doing has to be what the government says. That means you're working for the government and not for the people. But if you work with the government, one thing about life is collaboration, right? The government has nice ideas, things they want to execute for the people. Now, CSOs hold them accountable. This policy, are they working? You say you're going to build school. Are you building the schools? And sometimes a lot of CSOs also like are into building of schools. They are working with the government. We all have a common goal. At the end of the day, we'll agree that we run a democratic government and it's also government of the people, by the people, for the people, although the system is flawed. And that's why we should have CSOs. That's a body that is outside of the government, that is not accountable to the government, and they are holding the government accountable. So they are not working for the government, but they are working with, because if you want to advocate for a policy, you need to meet a policy maker who is also part of the government. You want a law to be passed, you need to meet these people because and they are part of the government. You want a school to be built, you have to also go through the government. You have to work with them, but you are not working for them. So you are not working for them, but you have to work with them. We do a lot of policy advocacies and we are meeting with government stakeholders almost all of the time, but we are strictly non-partisan. We cannot come out during election to say we support PDP or we support APC. That's being partisan. That is us working for the government. So you have to be you have to be, how do I put it, neutral. You're not on the side of any government. If it's APC that is working, you have to work with them. You have to keep them accountable, regardless if it's your uncle or your auntie that is in power. If it's PDP, you also, but if you say you're working for the government and assuming your favorite government based on a candidate is in PDP and then they do not win, then you're not working for the interest of the people at the end of the day. So we have to work together. We have to collaborate. But it is very important that you are not on the side of the government. You are on the side of the people.
Thank you very much. Hey, Barry.
Yeah, okay. That's been really, I wish Mr. Okeze was here to give us, to give us a balanced view of this conversation, because he's the leader of the coalition of NGOs in Ebonyi State. So it would have been nice because that's why we wanted to strike a balance. That was why we brought someone from the north and then someone from the south so that we can get, a clearer view of how these things work either way, whether it's in the north or in the south. But that's by the way. Yeah, so I wanted to ask, we talked about mindset shift, getting the community to work with us. So I know that you've worked with a number of CSOs in the north, I believe. So I wanted to ask what you think about, because I mean we are Africans, right? We are Nigerians. You're Igbo, but I know you've lived in the north for a very long time, and you know that the north, they have their cultures, and not all of these cultures or traditions are bad entirely. I'm sure there are some of them that are good, right? So the other day we had a section on the history of development in Nigeria, and we were able to even trace it back to before the colonial times, how communities had their own way of protecting the environment, of ensuring gender equality or equality in general, justice, executing justice and all those things as a community. Yeah, so my question is this now. I know we have some of those cultures still existing. You work with non-profit. Have you encountered, or do you think, maybe just off of your head now, thinking back in retrospect, that there are some developments or what's it called now? Interventions, right? Interventions or development strategies that some organizations have actually brought up, because you mentioned something about how after you've given or you've um, implemented a particular intervention in a community, at the end of the day, the community are the ones that have to live with the repercussion of these development strategies. So have you in in your time working in the CSO sector experienced an intervention strategy that you think is going to affect negatively affect certain cultural values that you think are good or healthy in the community? I don't know if my question is making sense. Have you seen it happen where it looks like this intervention is going to change something here, something that has been helping these people live, maybe live communal life, or something that has been helping them live, maybe the girls live decently, or something that has been helping marriages last, or something like that. Do you think you've seen an intervention that has affected core cultural values that are positive? And also, how do you um how do you think, what do you think CSOs can do to make sure we are able to retain healthy cultural values, regardless of whether it's what the donors want or what the sponsoring organizations want? How do you think we're able to help protect? I think that's the word. How do you think we can help the community protect their cultural values against what foreign donors, especially, want to impose on the community? I hope my questions make sense. There are two questions there.
Yeah. Um, this is tough, I have to admit. But first of all, I think that is because we are heavily over reliant on foreign aid. That's why sometimes we compromise our values. Fact. Um, why every donor has what they want, right? Every donor has a return on investment, whether or not we see it or not, right? I know they're trying to pump in money, developments, but they have their return on investment as well, which sometimes we may know, sometimes we may not know. And so sometimes when we write those proposals, it has to fit into what they want at the end of the day. Now, I may not have a particular example to show, but I'm just going to give like something very similar. I know, like while we were working, I think we are working on a particular documentary in a community, and then we were asking questions, about why parents are not allowing their girls in school. And some of these parents will come out and say, oh, they want their children actually to go to school genuinely. But then again, who would help them? Who will help them? Especially, community members are not like we live in the town. I mean, we pay for everything that we want. If something is going to obstruct your work, you just get somebody to do that for you. But those who are living in the community are heavily reliant on their children. A farmer is reliant on his wife and kids for his farm work. And so he feels sometimes that sending his child to school will reduce the labor. I mean, that's why a lot of people have a lot of children. It will reduce like the labor workforce of his family, right? Their concerns are valid, but then you also have to help them understand that it's not about you, it's about your child, it's about the future of that child, because we don't want to have a society or children who are not educated, who are ignorant. Because when people are ignorant, people outside intend to impose a lot of things on them. Now, secondly, I'm trying to, put words together to be able to answer your questions. But one thing about program design, I think it all boils down to program design, right? Especially for us that, write proposals to try to get grants, to try to get money. We can solve a lot. We doing a lot. When we are designing our program, we should design a program that fits into our context as a country, as a community. whether at state, national, or community level. But what is it? We should also design program that addresses a need. A lot of us are writing, truth be told, a lot of people are writing proposals in order to get grants. But the proposal that we are writing, the solution that we are offering, does it actually solve a problem? Right? Sometimes some problems are just better left not solved than solving them and creating much more problem, right? So it has to come down to us. We need to understand our value as a person, where we stand, where are we headed. Somebody was saying something sometime, and I completely agree with the person that as a country, do we even know where we are going to in Nigeria? Or we are just following the train, our funders, or we're just following where our funders want us to go rather than where we want to go. There's a difference between somebody saying, oh, I want Nigeria to be educated. Is that where we really want to go to? Or I want Nigeria to adopt AI. Is that where we want to be? Right? We have a lot of problem that sometimes we leave it and we are addressing something that is not yet a problem for us. I mean, other developed countries are developed in terms of education, in terms of health sector, and then they are moving and they are adopting AIs and a lot of things. And then we as a country, if we are not focused, if we don't know where we are going to, we just go where other people are going to. And at the end of the day, that's not development. So when we are writing, it should come down to, we also need to find a way that we can begin to fund our project so that people don't dictate where we go by ourselves. So I know a lot of NGOs are coming up, but we also need to find a sustainable model. How do we get funding from our government? How do we internally fund the things that we are doing? How do we try to not be over-reliant on foreign aids? That's our problem. Earlier this year, I think the USAID, there was this funding cuts during Trump administration. It affected a lot of people. It affected a project that we were working on. It affected a lot of people had to lose their job. A lot of projects had to be put on hold. Imagine if somebody's life is reliant or dependent on this project. So if immediately a policy comes, and a lot of things has to do with a policy. So if a country is funding you, for instance, and a policy just comes, a policy shift comes, and it is no longer helping them achieve their goal, and they say, oh, let's cut this off. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So if we're over-reliant, we might have to begin to compromise our values. I don't want to use some words here. I don't want to say some things here because I don't know a lot of people who will be watching it. But there are some agendas that they are beginning to push that is totally against our value as people, as community. And because Nigeria is a country that we have a lot of religious values, majorly Christians and Muslims, we have a lot of values that we hold dear. And because we are reliant on a lot of funding, we have to keep putting in those words into our proposals or those into what we are going to achieve because we need donors' money. You know, we need to collect their money. And then at some point, we begin to compromise our values and begin to tell people that, oh, this thing that you're doing is wrong, whereas it is their culture. Sometimes if you read history books, you realize that our artifacts were stolen from us because I mean those people that came in those times said it was evil and they made us believe it as evil. But when we go to other countries, we see this art and we begin to admire them. But it was from us, but they made us believe it was evil because they had money to give to us. So we have to strike a balance.
And you pay to see those artifacts.
Exactly. We're told it was. You're muted.
Yeah. Paradise, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Just to add to your response to Ebere's question, you know the analysis you drew about if a family man that depends on the family's contribution as labor to his source of livelihood. When you pull those children out to school, you give them education, but you take food out of their mouth. Because food production will go down, the parents' ability to cater for their needs in terms of health and otherwise will go down. And that brings me to the ideology I once discussed with you, Ebere. Because when people talk about sustainable development, Everywhere you hear transdisciplinarity. But the problem of Nigeria is wicked. It is huge. It has many heads. It has a lot of tails. And if you focus on one part of the head or tail, the other ones will continue to multiply. And it comes down to a question you ask, are we going to keep doing what others are doing because it's what we need to do to make money? Are we going to sit down and look at our peculiar problem in the context of our communities and find a way to figure it out? I know this sounds bogus, but when you talk about CSOs or NGOs collaborating with government or other organizations, I still think that the problem of development in Nigeria should be treated with focus on the community and not on the problem. Because each time you focus on the problem, you will solve one and create 10.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, we've solved education, but we've created hunger. We've created reduced access to health. We've created even gender inequality because without the children, the wife may be forced to do more because the children are gone. And when you're not able to meet up your needs as a man, this is just hypothetically, aggression will come in. It could lead to violence. So we have solved education for the children, but we have ended up creating more demands. Now, what of a scenario where instead of coming to solve the problem of education in village A, you come to solve the problem of development in village A? Collaborate with NGOs working in health, in education, because those children can go to school and another NGO or a branch of the program. I know it's going to be bogus, it's going to be ambiguous, but that is because our problems are ambiguous. But if we pick community A and you have up to 10 NGOs collaborating to solve development problem in community A, I believe we will get more results in no time than we will get if multiple NGOs are coming to solve different problems. Because if, let's say you're handling education and you're there advocating for these children to go back to school, and they go back to school, and the various NGO comes in to help their mother set up some kind of trade, train their mother, set up some kind of trade. And I come with agricultural grants to the father, helping with mechanized farming, helping with regenerative agriculture, and training him, empowering him and their mother. You see that this family will have access to education, have greater yields in their farm, and even more source of income. And of course, we cannot go and train one person. But if you train 5 people who need this in that community, you will be setting up 5 families. And at the same time, providing education. And, constantly we say collaborate. That's the most abused word in the development sector. But nobody wants to collaborate in the true sense of it.
True, I agree.
People just say, let's, but in the true sense of it, people don't really want to collaborate. Because except you want to keep going round. We just had a conversation yesterday on another episode about data. And just in this conference, you sent me a message a few minutes ago about the data. And I said something. We already know that there is gap in that data. It's just like this issue. We know what the problem is. If we mean to solve it and everybody in the development sector who is half as passionate, like just passionate, decide to sit on a round table and pick one community after the other, Nigeria will be developed in no time. But we continue to have this conversation. We discuss this, we hammer it, but then what are we going to do? What is going to happen? We can talk about this thing and this issue for 3,000 years and remain underdeveloped. So it's just like what you said. We can continue to go for it. And local resource mobilization, NGOs, CSOs, whatever it is, should learn or find a way to raise funds locally. And the number of things we pay for as NGOs could as well be provided by the community at no cost if we engage them enough to buy into that idea. I remember a project we had one time in a community in Ebonyi State. These children had no seats in there. The arrangement was you provide the wood, we'll get the manpower. Because it wasn't part of the project we were delivering. But I don't know how you're going to be going to teach children weekly, do teachers training, and then the children are sitting on the floor. So it was not part of the project at all, because the image, the picture that we had when that project was designed was that of a conducive or at least a reasonable classroom setting. And then you walk into this village school and not up to 10 children had something to sit on. And you see, you already planned with your budget and everything is just at the brim. Now, it brings the question, are you just going to deliver what you have or what you propose to do? Are you going to solve an actual problem you found in that community? We began to speak with school management, village head, youth leaders. How are we going to do this? This is not nice. And we ended up where they had to give us access to wood. These people had like, I don't know the names of the trees, like very good wood that they could use for furniture. Now, understanding the impact on the environment, we did something in return. We'll plant trees I know it will take years for these to grow to that point, but we are going to replace this. And we work together to selectively pick the parts of the communities where these trees belonging to the community will be cut from. And trees will be replanted to replace those. They provide us with the wood and we provide the manpower.
Wow.
And beyond the project we were doing, we had to do that to deliver those desks. Normal scenario, people will just do their project, follow the budget, and do donor KPI and go home. But our problems are different again. How are we going to ensure that we don't just keep having this conversation, but we begin to actually act? We begin to actually work, because it's not just about, I think it's no longer just about the pride or the honor of I'm making a difference. Personally, I feel I want to see more of the difference we are making. I feel we are doing a lot, but I also feel like we can do better and we can do more. I don't think I have a question at the end of this. I'm just making a contribution. Sorry, please. Go ahead, Ebere. Let me recollect my thoughts.
Okay. Okay, that was really nice. I wanted to ask, all right, so we're talking about CSOs, and I know that Juliet mentioned that a couple of NGOs, non-profit, are springing up every day. So what will you say to a young person, right? I would like to get your input, Juliet, and yours to Paradise. What will you say to a young person who is very passionate, right? Let's say you come from a community where there's a particular problem, and the problem is apparent. The problem is literally giving this person sleepless nights. You want to help, you want to do something to solve this problem, but you don't have a job, you don't have a source of livelihood, right? You don't have a job, and but you can maybe go on social media, talk to people, try to gather help in one way or the other. What will you say to this person? Will you encourage the person to go ahead and just go for it? Or what will you advise this person to get a job? So I want you to look at it, because as you're talking to people like this, you also need to consider the fact that they're passionate about something. So, and if you're telling the person to leave the job, what will happen to the problem? Maybe lives are at stake. Children are out of school. or people are dying of something, whatever the problem might be, but it's really something there, and this person really wants to help. So what will you advise this person to do, a young person?
Okay. Thank you. I'll give a very popular scenario. Um, you see a lot of injustice happening in your community, and then, oh, I want to solve this problem of injustice. You go to school, you study law, you become a lawyer. It gives you an edge because now you understand what rights is all about. What I want to say is that you cannot help somebody from a place of lack. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but you cannot give what you don't have.
Mm.
I don't know if this makes sense. Now, a lot of us are passionate. I mean, if every passionate person starts an NGO, then we'll have more NGOs
There are problems.
than problems. I don't know if it makes any sense. But yeah, if you're passionate about starting something, go for it. Start it. I really, but then you need to learn from other people. You've not submitted. I think the problem with a lot of young people is that we don't want to submit to mentorship. We just want to be at the top.
Mm.
I know that you said collaboration has been abused a lot. That's because we are not even leveraging, we are not using it. You can speak to somebody who has similar passion as you are, and you begin to solve that problem. You don't have a job. That means you don't have any source of income. And to be very honest, building something requires money. It requires resources, regardless of how we want to say it. Passion alone cannot solve the problem.
Mm.
Passion alone will not keep children in school.
Yeah.
Passion alone will not solve the rate of teenage pregnancies that is springing up. I have passion for girls, it won't solve the problem. If you bring these girls, you need to keep them. You need them to go to school. They need to feed. They need to start. They need to have a skill. I mean, Ebere, you recently built like a skill acquisition center for girls. That costed a lot of money, right? And if you don't have a job, meaning if you don't have a job, you don't have access to people, right? So if you need to mobilize people to help you, people need to see that, oh, you're already doing something. So if you don't have a job, please get a job. You need to help it. In fact, you are your first project yourself. Working on yourself should be your first project. Because if you've not worked on yourself and you want to work on another person, working on yourself should be your first project. Because somebody that is whole, that can pour into another person. So what I will advise to young people, your passion is good, it is valid, right? But if you don't have any resources, you don't have to start an NGO. You work with one.
Mm.
There are already existing NGOs who have similar passions as you are. Is there a way you can work with them? Maybe not as full-time, maybe offering your skill set. If you have your job doesn't stop you from pursuing your passion. It might only delay you a bit because, oh, you have a lot of commitment. But if you are focused, there's a way you can always balance it. Is starting your NGO, am I against people starting their NGO or faith-based organization? No, I'm not. But what I'm saying is that we should at least be a bit prepared.
Mm.
While we're encouraged to learn on the job, but you should have something, at least, no matter how little, that you have to offer before you can think of starting. That's why we have a lot of NGOs start and then close, start and then at the end of the day, people are after money, people are after getting money, people are after getting funds. My advice to young people is that you can identify the people who are already doing the things that you're doing in your community and work with them, at least for the meantime, for you to understand how the system works, for you to understand what is this system all about, for you to even learn from their own mistakes. So you don't have to go and start making a mistake all over again. The time you're supposed to be helping people, you're using to correct the mistakes that you could have actually learned from someone. So sorry. This is basically what I have to say. There is not a one size fits all. If you have the resources to start an NGO, you have the network, please, by all means. But if you are still starting up, identify the one that's already working and offer your knowledge, offer your skills, offer your time. And you, at the end of the day, you are also making the world a better place.
Yeah. I think if I respond to this, I'll just be repeating a lot of things you've said. Yeah. So just to add to that though, please volunteer first. And then if at the end of the day you have the resources to start, you start. There are also like it's not a one cap fits all kind of scenario, if you ask me. Some people are able to, put it. I think when you started SAF, Abby, in one of the episodes you shared that when you started SAF, you were out of job or something. So it was just passion that pushed you. But at the same time, you had the zeal and the strength to leverage the network you have.
You already have.
And
It was
you,
hard. It was
yes,
hard
and
too. It was very hard.
me too. It was hard when I started my
It was
parade
very hard.
because I had the only thing I had was just audacity. I had passion,
Indeed.
I had audacity, and the ability to lobby people, like
Mm.
the ability to. I don't know how it happened, and I would also grace as well because honestly, when Wife for It started, it was just a lot going on at the same time. And I just had me and a friend who was happy to like jump on the train, jump on the train from day one. And I dared to reach out to anybody that is Britain that I believe can help me. I sent cold emails. I was on people's websites. I asked help from all over the world, anywhere I could get help. And one thing I realized was that one of the issues you have I also is not asking because almost all the cold emails I sent came back with positive, responses. Because people are often like happy when you're really young and you're trying to make a difference.
Different.
Because a lot of like when we first started with the No Child Dropout Initiative, we talked about in the last episode. People just couldn't, imagine it that you're just in like your early 20s and you're here bustling your personal pocket money to pay children tuition and things like that. So people were really excited to help and to come on board. And what you said is absolutely true. I will borrow something from Vusi, his son, Vusi.
Ayo.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Vusi said something in one of his videos. He said, you need to grow your income to be able to fund your passion. I'm very passionate about education. I'm passionate about community development in general. But if I don't have the means to contribute to that passion presently, I'll be frustrated. I will just like I'll keep wiring myself like I need to, I need to, I need to, I need to, and end up doing nothing. So you said the same thing in a different way. Young people, invest in yourself,
Mm.
grow your network, learn, and don't stop learning. And as soon as you may never even be 100% ready, but as soon as you can get to do this and not feel lost or overly pressured to a point that you lose yourself, then you give it a shot. And like you also mentioned, if you already have the network or you have enough audacity to dare to start,
You have something. You have network.
exactly. You have the audacity, you have network. You may not have cash. It's just like in business, it's not always about the liquid
Capital.
cash you have.
Mm.
Sometimes all you need is somebody saying, I know that person, give
Yeah.
them the goods and they'll return the money by the time they make their sales. So network, by all means, please network. So I think that's my answer to you, Abby.
It's going to get noisy here because people are started coming to lunch.
All right. So I think
Yeah.
that's all I had for Juliet though, because most of the things we had about how things actually, with Dr. Okeze being head of CSO, we wanted to ask like very particular questions about how the CSO in Ebonyi State, to be precise, is functioning, their relationship with the government and the communities they serve, and his experience leading the CSOs. And I just wanted to know, you may be able to help with this, Juliet, but if it's not something like that is you're happy to answer. It's also very fine. I want to know, as coalition of civil society organizations, as these umbrellas exist, do you think that they even have a plan for the areas they cover? Like CSO in Ebonyi State. Is it just an association of people that own NGO or that work with NGOs? Or is it a body with a proper plan towards development in Ebonyi State? This is Ebonyi State, for instance. It could be Kaduna, it could be Kano. Do you think that CSOs in Nigeria have such plan for the areas or communities that they cover?
I think it's about leadership though. I really don't know how these systems work because I'm currently not in any coalition of CSOs, to be very honest. I have to be, but then I think it's about leadership because if the leadership is functional and everything, at the end of the day, everything boils down to system, I would say. If they have a right system, a right structure, then someone like me would have been in that coalition. But then sometimes I don't see it. I don't like joining unnecessary meetings. I always tell my colleagues, I don't like meetings, especially meetings that are unproductive. I don't want to sit there because I feel like, oh, I have a lot of things to do. And I feel a lot of other people also share this mindset and this notion with me. Why are we all sitting down in a meeting without an agenda, without an end goal? So are we forming coalitions for coalition's sake? Or are we forming it with a purpose in mind, with an agenda, with an end goal? So Nigerians like meetings. I used to tell my mom that you are in a lot of community meetings. What's the goal? I mean, community is beautiful, but then if there is no agenda, if there's no goal, it will just be another gathering. People just coming together. And at the end of the day, we go home. And at the end of the day, we don't have anything to write home about. So I really don't know what are the dynamics of these coalitions that are being formed, civil society organizations. But I hope that we come to a place where these coalitions have clear goals, have clear plans, and have actual timelines. That way, it would even make collaboration stronger. So when we come to this meeting, can we identify who and who is doing something together and they could work and put funds together and put resources together to work together to achieve a common goal? I've not seen that. I mean, it might be there, but I don't think I have seen that
I have
happen.
not either.
Exactly. So we leadership, maybe we need some kind of agile people to, take up these spaces because sometimes some of these spaces are also occupied by people who have been there for long, there was that just typical example, they had like a coalition here in Kano. I've heard about them. In fact, I think a boss of mine was also part of them, and they were more concerned about who is going to be the president, what's not, what's not, what's not. It was a fight for a long time. And I mean, people are coming together for a common goal, and then sometimes at the end of the day, politics comes to play. People are always looking for positions. People are always looking for leadership roles. People are looking for titles. Why am I saying leader? See, there's a difference between leadership and title. People are always looking for titles. That's the word. And at the end of the day, the goal of the coalition is forgotten because people are pursuing title as opposed to why we are here. So maybe we will have like a revolution of more young people who want to be part of this. Like I'm not part of it, and I wish I am. But maybe if we can have more people who are not just sitting on the fence, and then maybe they have a good plan. I mean, having a coalition of CSOs is good. It's very important. But at the end of the day, why are we there? If we don't know why we are there, it could just be another gathering. Yeah, so.
Like that.
I wanted to say something. The reason for the coalition, because you say you don't even know the agenda. The reason for most coalitions is to make it easier to access funding. So let's say UNICEF, for instance, wants to fund education in Ebonyi State. It's easier to get to the coalition and find NGOs that work in education and maybe assess them there and pick whoever they want to partner with from there. Right. So now what I wanted to ask you something. But I think I would say something on it first. Do you think, because I remember when the first time I started doing the work I do as staff, some of my uncles and some other people were like, there's money in non-profit now. They were like, that I made the right choice. I'm doing that is where the money is now. And I've also heard a couple of other people say the same thing as well, that people tell them that there's money in the non-profit sector. All right. So, um, and I think that is where like the election and the competition for title comes in. So, but I want you to. I think this should be like my last question because this is getting really noisy. Do you think it is right for people? You know how you go to school and you say, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. I want I want to study business management and what have you. And if you are being honest, most people that wanted to be doctors back then, secondary school, because they say doctors earn well, they pay them well, you know.
Of course.
So do you think it is right for people? Because I know that is the new trend now. People are going into development for the opportunities in the development sector. What do you have to say regarding this? Should the development sector be handled like a source of
The
livelihood?
profession.
It can be a profession, but should it be like a source of livelihood where we are looking forward to, you know, when somebody say they want to be a teacher, that this person have resolved that I don't intend to be a millionaire. And I don't know if you get somebody decides I want to be a teacher. Most times they've resolved they don't want to be, they're not after the money, right? So, but do you think development sector should be looked upon as a place where you can grow and build 5-story building, buy the latest Benz, or should it completely be like a vocation, a calling? You know, I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but I mean, if you can speak on it so that anybody that is trying to go into the sector really understand. Because, Paradise, I was saying something in our last session the other day. I said something that there are some things we do, we don't understand the repercussion of these things. For example, your job is just to take data, just information of people or in a register. You don't understand that it is possible that the names of those children you are taking, if you do it anyhow, they can miss out on a life-changing opportunity that can transform their lives forever. And because of one of your silly mistake or carelessness, a child can miss out on something. I don't know if you're getting my point. So what do you think about a non-profit being looked upon as profitable?
Okay. So I would say it should be treated as a non-profit that it is, right? If you're going into non-profit, you should know that it's not about you, it's about people. But then there's life, right? There's a general principle of life. If you give value, it comes back to you in multiple folds. So you should also have that at the back of your mind. But life in general, in fact, any profession that you're going in, if you are going in with the mindset of the money, you end up chasing things
Hmm.
and you end up chasing money and you don't end up working for value and then it doesn't come to you. I don't know I don't know how to put this principle that they say if you keep chasing something, it just keeps running. But then you need to attract. I forgot how it is being said. But what I'm saying is that yes, working in the non-profit or working in the development space should actually be a profession. And one thing about profession, regardless, no matter what, it pays. Serving people pays, right? It pays to serve people,
Hmm.
right? So, but if you begin to see it as a making machine, then you've gone out of what it is, what it was meant
Yeah.
for, what it was built for. You are no longer a non-profit. You are in the profit-making sector. If you begin to identify, I'm here to make money, then you are not in non-profit. You are in the profit-making sector. I mean, we should call a spade a spade. If you want to make money, business is the best and easiest way to make money.
Yeah.
It is not non-profit,
Yeah.
right? It is not non-profit. I mean, all of these big funders are funding education, Bill Gates, for instance, all of them, they have structures, they have systems, they have businesses that is giving them money.
Yeah.
Before it even comes to, okay, investing this in development, it's just like charity. But though now we don't want to call non-profit as charity because it's different, it's more structured. There's
Mm.
a system to it, right? So if you want to make money, use your skills.
Mm.
Your skills can make money for you. You can start up a business, but investing in people is something we do willingly without expecting anything back in return. If something comes back in return, then glory be to God.
Yeah.
But it should not be seen as, if not, you will be chasing grants and that you forget the purpose. You forget your purpose, you forget your calling. You'll be
Forget
chasing
your
money. You'll be chasing the next proposal. You forget your why. You'll be confused at the end of the day. So this is like an advice to young people. If you're coming into non-profits for the money, then you're not coming into non-profit. You're coming into profits. You could start up your profit organization. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay to want money. But then this system is meant to serve people.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't have any more questions on my end. And very
Thank you very much, Juliet. This was really insightful. It was really insightful, and to be honest, I must say you're very brilliant. And it's really impressive. It's very impressive, and I think more young people have a lot to learn. It's good that, I mean, whatever it is you do, like you said, it's okay to want to make money. If the money you want to make, learn the processes, follow the process step by step, so that you can confidently come out like Juliet and defend whatever it is that is asked of you in your area. So that
yeah.
you're not, I know that a lot of young people now want to just do things fast. You want to get opportunities fast. You want to do, but you don't want to take your time to learn the basics, so that when you get there, you don't flop, you don't disappoint whoever it is offer that opportunity to you. So I really want to commend you, yeah, and well done. Well done.
Thank you so much, Juliet. It's been like great pleasure listening to you. And like Ebere said, you're quite knowledgeable. And I'm grateful you found the time to join us today in on today's conversation. And fingers crossed, maybe in subsequent episodes, that we may be able to have you again, depending on what we're talking about and your availability as well. Thank you
Sure.
for saying yes to today's session. And yeah.
Thank you.
We'll see you hopefully soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for the
Yes,
invite.
yes, we should. We should.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.